They left for war, promised to come back, but they never did. Not because they died, but because they couldn't leave. POWs who stayed, deserters who disappeared, soldiers who found new lives, and never told their families. This is the story of the men who never came home. After World War II, millions of soldiers returned home. Parades, reunions, victory, but thousands didn't come back. Listed as MIA, missing in action. Families waited, years, decades. Some were dead, bodies never found. Lost in jungles, oceans, battlefields, but others, they were alive. They just chose not to return. POWs who stayed in Russia, deserters who hid in Europe, soldiers who started new families, new lives. By the time anyone looked for them, they'd vanished into history. This is their story, the men who walked away. The Soviet Union captured millions of German POWs, sent them to labor camps, Siberia, Kazakhstan, the gulags. Officially, they'd be released after the war, sent home, but many weren't. The Soviets kept them for years, forced labor, rebuilding Soviet infrastructure. By the 1950s, some were released, but not all. Thousands remained, forgotten, disappeared into the Soviet system. Some died, others lost hope, stopped trying to escape, started new lives, married Russian women, had children, became Soviet citizens. Their families in Germany thought they were dead, held funerals, moved on. Decades later, after the Cold War ended, some were found. Elderly men, living in remote villages. Journalists interviewed them. Why didn't you come home? Some said they tried, but the Soviets wouldn't let them. Others, I had nothing to go back to. Everyone I knew was gone. Similar stories with Japanese soldiers, thousands captured by the Soviets, sent to labor camps. Many died, but some stayed, voluntarily. In Russia, China, Korea. Why? Shame. In Japan, surrender was dishonorable. Better to be dead than a POW, so they stayed, changed their names, lived as locals. Not all soldiers who disappeared were captured. Some deserted, walked away, during battle, during occupation, during the chaos of war's end. In Europe, after Germany surrendered, millions of displaced people wandered. Refugees, soldiers, survivors. It was easy to disappear, get fake papers, new identity, start over. Some American soldiers did this, deserted, stayed in Europe, France, Italy, Germany. Why? Various reasons. Some fell in love with local women, didn't want to leave. Others committed crimes, feared court-martial, easier to vanish. Some just couldn't face going home. PTSD, trauma, guilt. They assumed new names, lived quietly, died anonymously. Their families back home never knew. The military listed them as AWOL, deserters. Eventually, presumed dead. One famous case, a US soldier in Italy fell in love, deserted, lived 50 years in a small village. His family thought he died in combat, held a funeral, moved on. He died in 1998. His identity discovered by accident. A researcher found his military records, contacted his family. They were shocked. He was alive all this time? But the saddest cases, soldiers who couldn't return. Mentally, PTSD wasn't understood then, called shell shock. Battle fatigue, no treatment. Some soldiers came home, physically, but mentally, they never left the war. They isolated, drank, became violent. Families couldn't recognize them. Some disappeared, walked away from their families, lived as drifters, homeless, died alone, in distant cities under different names. Others stayed physically but emotionally absent, never talked about the war, never reconnected. Their family said, he came back, but not really. Then there are the ones still missing. Today, 72,000 Americans still unaccounted for from World War II. Bodies never recovered. Some are in oceans, crashed planes, sunken ships, unreachable. Others in jungles, deserts, mountains, buried by time. Every year recovery teams search, find remains, identify them, return them home. But thousands will never be found. The soldiers who never returned home. Some couldn't, some wouldn't, some chose not to. They left behind families, waiting, wondering, grieving for years, decades, lifetimes. Some families got closure. Eventually, a letter, a grave, an explanation. Most didn't. Just silence, empty chairs, unanswered questions. War doesn't just kill soldiers, it erases them, takes them away, and sometimes never gives them back. The men who vanished into Soviet camps, European villages, new identities, or their own minds. They're gone, but not forgotten, not by the families still waiting. How many soldiers are still out there? lost in history. Remember them, all of them, and subscribe to honor those who never came home, because every soldier's story deserves to be told.